Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah. Okay, we will start. Anyways, this is our last topic for allergy. And this is anaphylaxis in the emergency room. But anaphylaxis can occur in any area or in any setting. So you'll get to read that one on later as well. So these are the outlines or the key questions when you encounter a patient who is probably having an anaphylaxis. So is the patient presenting with anaphylaxis? Was the trigger removed? And how do we manage anaphylaxis? So anaphylaxis is a serious life-threatening generalized or systemic hypersensitivity reaction that has a rapid onset of action and might cause death. It is associated with airway, breathing, or circulatory problems and is usually, although not always, associated with skin and mucosal changes. It may be IgE mediated or from direct release of your mediators from mast cells. And its estimated prevalence is 0.05 to 2%. So first off, for the history, so the onset, so you need to check when did it start because it's very important with regards to anaphylaxis, the time frame, because most of the time, the occurrence should happen before 2 weeks or sorry, before 2 hours. So the longest probably would be 6 hours, but most of the time it would occur within the next 2 hours after exposure of the possible allergen. So next would be route of exposure. So be it orally, through inhalation, or the more common setting in the hospital would be IV injections, IV antibiotics, etc. And then what was the activity prior to the event? So they were having a party, for example, or the patient was just in school, or the patient was in the park. So also the location of the event. So where did the symptoms or where did it happen? So at home, in school, or at the hospital. So you check also the atopic status of your patient. So and the concomitant diagnosis as well, because this is very much important for those patients who are hypertensive, especially those who are taking beta blockers. So next would be your physical examination. So this is the World Allergy Organization guidelines for the assessment and management of your anaphylaxis. But although there are a lot of guidelines, but basically all of them would have this one. And then the oldest guideline would be the one coming from the WOW. So anaphylaxis is highly likely when any one of the following criteria is fulfilled. So one, a sudden onset of an illness within minutes or several hours with involvement of the skin and mucosal tissue or both. And generalized hives including itching, flushing, swollen lips, tongue, or uvula. And at least one of the following. So you can have respiratory symptoms and a sudden reduce in your blood pressure or system or end organ dysfunction, hypotonia, collapse, or incontinence. So this would be for an unknown trigger. But next, if you have a likely allergen, for example, the patient is at the hospital and then the nurse injected an antibiotic, for example. So there should be two or more of the following that occur suddenly after an exposure to a likely allergen or trigger for that patient. So be it skin manifestations, respiratory symptoms, sudden collapse or decrease in your blood pressure, or sudden GI symptoms. So excessive vomiting, severe abdominal pain, etc. But if you already have a known allergen, for example, the patient already knows that he is allergic to peanut, and then the patient was given an ice cream by a classmate, and then the patient did not know that it contained some peanut on the ice cream, So you can just have one manifestation, especially if you have reduced blood pressure after a known allergen for that patient, within minutes to several hours. So you can also have your skin manifestation for that one. So for the physical examination, these would be the cutaneous, your urticaria, angioedema, pruritus, erythema, or eye tearing. For the respiratory, you may have difficulty of breathing, rhinorrhea, throat itching. So these are impending edema on the airways, your throat itching, or feeling of tightness. For cardiovascular, they may have dizziness, syncope, hypotension, chest pain, or tachycardia. And for the other manifestations for your GI, so severe abdominal pain or intractable vomiting. And for neuro, some would also have seizures, but these two are less likely also. So there is a special population with regards to your anaphylaxis. So infants, they can probably just present with cyanosis or irritability or decreased activity because they cannot describe their symptoms. For adolescents and young adults, so they have risk-taking behaviors. For example, they already know that they are allergic to the peanut, but then due to peer pressure, etc., so they would just try, example, also alcohol, like that, and then they don't bring their EpiPen with them because their classmates would say, "I do not bring that one. Oy, nothing will happen to you." So that one. So during labor and delivery, so for those pregnant patients, they have a risk for getting a lot of antibiotics. So they also have a risk for having more anaphylaxis. And then in the elderly, they are taking a lot of medications, and most of the time they are outdoors. So they can be exposed to bees, insect stings, etc. And then they have more risk of having fatal anaphylaxis because of their concomitant diagnosis as well. So other factors would be for the gender. In males, they are much more prone for those less than 15 years old because they are more active, they are more in outdoors. But for females, for those more than 15 years old, it is likely due to the hormones. So that's what they mentioned. For age, most of the time it's seen in adult, but some pediatric patients would also manifest your anaphylaxis. And for others, so high socioeconomic status, because they are much more into rare foods, and then they are more going out. And then for those also asthmatic and atopic individuals because of their predisposed allergies already. So for the diagnostics, so you can get your serum tryptase, although our serum tryptase is just in I think in Manila and KTI. So and we recently asked when is the turnaround time. So when you extract your blood, you still have to send it out to Manila, but then the result would be after a week's time, or depending on the number of specimens that they can what they call this. They will do the test already if a certain number of pool of patients already need the result. So it peaks at 60 to 90 minutes after the onset of anaphylaxis and lasts up to 5 hours. So for your histamine, there would be a rise within 5 to 10 minutes and remain elevated for 30 to 60 minutes. So it should be obtained within 15 to 60 minutes. But then if you question the diagnosis of your anaphylaxis, so and then you're not so sure because you're not so sure also of the trigger. So when the patient comes in after an hour, you will get your serum tryptase. Although again, the result would just come back after a week or so. But at least you know that that was really anaphylaxis. So other tests would be to check your serum IgE, or you do your skin testing if ever the possible culprit is the food or the pollens. So is it anaphylaxis or another problem? So these are the more common diagnostic dilemmas. So it could be that the patient already had an urticaria episode, and at the same time the patient is asthmatic. So the patient suddenly develops respiratory distress, but it was asthma due to asthma. So these can mimic your anaphylaxis. So sudden syncope or anxiety. So they have difficulty of breathing, so you might think that they have anaphylaxis. And generalized urticaria, aspiration, so sudden onset of respiratory distress, cardiovascular, and neurologic events. So for those postprandial syndromes, you have your scoliosis, MSG, your Chinese restaurant syndrome. So after consuming MSG from Chinese restaurants, it's very salty most of the time for those in or for the viand in your Chinese restaurant. So that's your MSG or your Betsin. So this can cause generalized erythema and flushing of the patient. So sulfites and your food poisoning. So your scoliosis for those spoiled food. So others would be shock. So most of the time I was during my fellowship, so I was referred for anaphylaxis. And then when I went to the emergency room, when I further got the history because the patient had hypotension, despite them giving the epinephrine, the blood pressures was still low. And then when I asked the accompanying what happened, then they mentioned there was fever 5 days ago until now. So it was sepsis. Okay. So I signed out of service for that patient because it was septic shock. So angioedema and the Redman syndrome, so for your vancomycin. So the second question you would ask would be, is the trigger removed? Because it's very important that you remove the trigger. If the trigger is still there, then your anaphylaxis could still continue. So these are your immunologic mechanisms or your IgE dependent. So your top eight or your top list of your food allergens would be peanuts, tree nuts, shellfish, fish, milk, egg, soy, although peach and sesame, well, sesame could be in the seeds, but peach is not so common in our setting here. And then bee stings, IV medications as well, latex, rubber, occupational allergens, seminal fluid. Well, we had a rare case presented in our inter-hospital in allergy. It was because of the seminal fluid of the husband of the patient, unfortunately. So, anyways, maybe it was still early on in their marriage, so probably the plans would be to desensitize the the wife if ever they would really want to conceive. So aeroallergens and radio contrast media. So eventually in your internship, when there are procedures, especially MRIs like that, or radio contrast media would be needed, that's the reason why you would accompany the patient, because in case of anaphylaxis due to the radio contrast media, you would know what to do. And then, so this is common also in our setting, the triatoma, kissing bug or the cone nose bug. So insects feed by sucking blood of animals and find shelter in the homes at night. And the allergens are salivary gland protein. So this looks like a small cockroach, and then they have different colors as well. They could be brown, yellow, red. I've seen different colors also of this triatoma bug. So for your other, so NSAIDs, dextrans, and biologic agents, so your omalizumab would cause also your anaphylaxis. So for the non-immunologic mechanisms or your direct mast cell activation, the most common example would be your intake of alcohol. So that's why sometimes when you drink alcohol, you would have flushing or heat, or you feel flushed. So that's because of the direct mast cell activation and not coming from the allergy per se. And then physical factors, so either an increase or a decrease in the temperature and other medications as well. So there are idiopathic causes of your anaphylaxis. So due to previously unrecognized allergen, or if your patient is having mastocytosis or mast cell disorder. But I refer these patients also to the hematologist. Moving. Next. Why is this not moving? Okay, so how do we manage anaphylaxis? So the first immediate intervention would be to do your CAB, circulation, airway, and breathing. And right after you diagnose, you give your IM epinephrine at the anterolateral thigh. And then if ever your patient would need an IV access, for example, there is hypotension, then you start your IV, but do not delay your IM epinephrine. If your patient has respiratory symptoms, then you give your oxygen and you monitor. And you do proper positioning. So you need to elevate your legs. The second line management would be you can give a rapid IV bolus if ever you have hypotension, and you can repeat your IM epinephrine for 3 doses. But if your patient would go into shock despite the 3 epinephrines, then you can already give your IV epinephrine, or if your patient would go already into cardiopulmonary arrest, you would go already to the CPR protocol. You can also give your bronchodilators if your patient is having wheezing. And then you can give your steroids and antihistamine as an adjunct therapy. So why is epinephrine the first line medication in anaphylaxis? So it contains your alpha-1 adrenergic receptor, your beta-1 adrenergic receptor, and your beta-2 adrenergic receptors. So these would increase your vasoconstriction and vascular resistance, increase blood pressure, and decrease mucosal edema in the airway. It increases also your cardiac contraction, force, and heart rate, and decrease mediator release and bronchodilation. So with epinephrine, you can already target the effects of your histamine. Diba? Your histamine could decrease the mediator release. If you need to have your pressor, so it already increases your blood pressure. And it also decreases your edema in your patients. So the dose of your epinephrine is 1:1,000 or 1 milligram per ml at 0.5 ml. So in children, you would need to compute it at a dose of 0.01 milligram per kilogram or a max of 0.3. But just a fast overview, for example, your patient is 10 kilos, you give 0.1 ml. Your patient is 20 kilos, 0.2 ml. So you would just move the decimal point. But for adult, the maximum dose would be 0.3 ml. It is given into the intramuscular, preferably in the thigh, and most of the time you have an adverse effect of tremor, anxiety, palpitation, dizziness, and headache. So most of the time when I already have these effects, then I am a little bit confident that the patient is almost out of the anaphylactic episode. So the difference between your epinephrine versus your pre-filled syringe would be for the epinephrine, it can be administered in 5 seconds. So I'll show later the EpiPen, and then it is expensive. It's around $300, or in here, we sell it for 10K per injection. And then it is a fixed dose. For adults, it's zero point 0.5, while for pedia patients, it is 0.3 ml, and it is single use. And then for the ampule or pre-filled syringe, so that's the only one that we... Hello? Ah, do you have a question? Wala ra? So for the ampule or pre-filled syringe, it takes more than 30 seconds to prepare, although it is cheaper, around 150 pesos per vial or ampule, and it can be adjusted to the weight of the patient, and more than one dose can be given because it contains 1 ml. But I will just um, not include this one na. So for the second line management, so you can give your histamine, diphenhydramine, to decrease your urticaria, your beta-2 adrenergic agonist if ever your patient would have wheezing due to respiratory distress. And glucocorticoids, this can prevent your anaphylaxis from, or for example, the patient's trigger or food. So it's usually ingested, or the food is eliminated within the next 3 to 5 days. So that's why, to prevent it from being reactivated again, you give your glucocorticoids. So you can give your hydrocortisone and your methylprednisone. So for the pedia patients, the dose would be 1 milligram per kilogram at a max of 50 milligrams. There are 3 patterns of your anaphylaxis, which is uniphasic. It occurs 30 minutes to 1 hour after the symptoms appear and resolves with or without treatment in the succeeding 30 minutes. For biphasic, there are 2 reactions occurring at least 1 hour apart, and both separate reaction meets the criteria. While your protracted anaphylaxis can last hours or days without complete resolution, but I'm lucky that I did not have any of these patients. So for the second line management, you give your vasopressors. If ever there is continuous hypotension in the patient, or you can also give your volume expanders as well. And glucagon is given to patients who are taking beta blockers because your epinephrine cannot work if ever you have your beta blockers. And then atropine if ever there is already bradycardia for the patient. So the other non-pharmacologic management would be to have a consultation with an allergist to determine what is the trigger if you do not know the trigger. And ideally, you would do continuous monitoring within the next 4 to 8 hours. But if you have hypotension, then as much as possible, you need to admit your patient. And patient education regarding the avoidance of their triggers. So these are the risk factors for your fatal anaphylaxis: delayed administration of your epinephrine for those patients with uncontrolled asthma, history of a biphasic reaction, and for those with cardiovascular disease. So for your discharge plans, the medications are shifted to the oral route. So from IV hydrocortisone, you would give already your oral prednisone, and you need to give them a self-injectable epinephrine, so that at any time they will be experiencing anaphylaxis for some reason, then they already can inject by themselves. And then en route to the hospital, at least it's already life-saving, especially that it's very traffic here. And then follow up with an allergist if ever there needs to be a skin testing. If ever it's coming from pollen allergies, dust mites, probably immunotherapy would help. And if it is caused by a drug and the drug needs to be given to the patient, then a possible drug desensitization is warranted. So take home points. IB route of your exposure, there can be cardiopulmonary arrest within 5 minutes. Insect sting, cardiopulmonary arrest within 15 minutes. And food, cardiopulmonary arrest can occur in 30 minutes. Okay. So anaphylaxis is unpredictable. The severity of anaphylactic episode can be minimized by recognizing the symptoms early, having proper medication available for self-treatment, and seeking emergency medical care promptly. There is no substitute for epinephrine in the treatment of anaphylaxis, and do not routinely administer antihistamines or corticosteroids instead of epinephrine. And administration of H1 or H2 antihistamines or corticosteroids should be considered just an adjunct therapy. Okay. I will share my what the look of your epinephrine. You have questions? Makitaan ba? Lang ha. I will just remove first background. So this is a trainer for the EpiPen. So this one has a lock on the top. This one, you just need to pull this one. This is the lock. I sorry, video. So this is the lock, and then you are already ready to inject it on the thigh. For example, this is the thigh. So when you hear a click, that one, it will already release your epinephrine to the thigh. And then you need to put it there for at least 10 seconds before you would release it. And then initially, so this one, if ever you have your lock at the top, this one would not be released. Okay? But when you release this lock, that one, it will already click. And then it would extend already because the needle is already covered. So it's very safe. Okay, so this is a life-saving device, but it's not available here in the Philippines because it's expensive, and then there would be an expiry of around 2 years. So, but again, the difference between that of your epinephrine vial is that this one you can already administer it within less than 5 seconds. But for your epinephrine, the vial, so if you are not trained, so I really have it in my clinic now, and then eventually if you have your clinics, you should also have your epinephrines. So this one, I placed it in a plastic because it's very fragile. So this is your epinephrine vial. So you need to break this one first. So you need to break it off. There's a color, or you cannot probably see it, but there's a dot there. So that's the dot where you would remove, or you would break off the glass. And then you would have to transfer this one into a tuberculin syringe. And then you need to remove the excess bubbles. So that would take at least 30 seconds already to 1 minute. But if the patient is not a medical practitioner, probably it would take more. So the certain number of minutes that your anaphylaxis would happen, so the EpiPen is a life-saving drug. We have questions? No questions?
None, Doc.
That's all our allergy lecture. That's all for the, how many topics did we have? A lot, but the more common ones would be the allergic rhinitis, the atopic dermatitis, and the asthma, but asthma is tackled in your respiratory system. Okay? So your next class is still online?
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Sige. Thank you.
Thank
Rest
you,
up.
Doc.
Have
Thank you,
your
Doc.
breakfast.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Doc.
Bye.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.